getting the success they want and the things they want to do, because starting is the hardest part. Now, I'm simply a guy who has a lot of dreams, a lot of aspirations, and I personally struggle with starting things. But once I start actually taking the time to continue and get better, and today I'm going to be breaking down everything that I've personally been doing to make sure that I can start something new, stick with it, and become the best I can be at it. And so, if you want to accomplish anything big, anything important, and you feel like you're on the edge of actually starting and truly making that jump, there's a few things that I want to talk to you about before we actually get into how to solve that. So, first and foremost, part of the reason why you're on the edge and not willing to actually jump is because of your mindset and lack of belief. Something that I've personally run into is the struggle with knowing that I'm capable, even though mentally I believe I am. Knowing and believing are two separate things. And so a lot of people know they can do good at something, but they don't believe they're the person who can make it work. And so they'll stop themselves from actually making that happen. And that's something that I've ran into with not only YouTube, but Instagram, Threads, selling my course, and a lot of other things. And because you don't believe you're the person deserving of actually accomplishing what you know you can, you stop yourself before you even start. Then there's the other side of you don't actually know how to make things happen. And I'm going to break it down in the simplest way that I could possibly explain it. You don't need to know what needs to happen for you to succeed. You simply have to start. Because when you were a kid, whenever you went out to start a sport, you didn't know the rules. You didn't know how to play. You didn't know all the ins and outs. You didn't know every single play within the playbook. Prime example, if you played football, you might have caught a football, you might have ran with it, you might have done two-hand touch with your cousins. But it wasn't until you actually got on a field, started to actually put on some pads and play with a team, having a coach tell you, this is what this means, this is how you do this, that you actually got the answers that you needed. But if you wanted to have all the answers before you actually started playing the sport, would you have ever started playing? When it comes to wrestling, I know I was a wrestler for 9 years. Before I actually started wrestling, the type where you put on a singlet, it's you and one person versus each other, and you are trying to throw each other around. If I knew what wrestling actually was and how that actually panned out, I would probably have not done it. Because I can remember my very first wrestling practice, we were practicing putting someone in a pin, and I was a WWE brat, so growing up, I used to watch um, Generation X, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, John Cena, Batista, all those guys. And so the first time I ever went to actually pin a kid, I laid on his chest, grabbed one of his legs, put it in the air, and waited for someone to count one, two, three. Because that's what I thought wrestling was. I didn't realize that was World Wrestling Entertainment. I thought that was wrestling. And so, in any endeavor, before you actually begin, just start. Before you do too many things, before you try and learn too many things, start. Because it's going to make a world of a difference, and it's actually going to allow you to start getting your foot in the game and becoming the person capable of achieving more. Versus so many people, me included, want to learn this, learn that, invest in this, buy that, and then start when all our ducks are in a row. But realistically, if you got a bunch of ducks following you and you're not their mother, the second you look away, they're going to run away. So why are you trying to delay your goals, delay your aspirations, when in reality, starting and failing is the only way for you to actually get better? The knowledge that you want to get, the skills you want to develop, the things you want from doing that action will only come from practice. It will only come from execution, and it will only come from actually doing the thing that you're trying to accomplish. And so, the third thing I want to talk about before actually getting into how to make the change to just start and stay consistent is this: you need to get around the right people. When you're around the right people, doing the things you want to do, being the people that you see yourself being, then you'll naturally want to do that. We're communal creatures. So if you get around a bunch of people making $1 million doing business and talking about entrepreneurship, naturally you're going to lean more into those things because now you know that it's okay to do it. You will be validated and you have a community around you. So many people feel as if, oh, I can't do this because my friends aren't doing that or whatever it may be. But if your friends have decided they want to work a normal 9 to 5 job, they want to be as normal and typical as everybody else in the world, then you must find a new group. You must find a new community, and you can keep your old friends. You will have to limit time with them though, because if you don't, then you will continue to talk about the same things, do the same things, and be in the same environments that are keeping you where you are now. And so, on your journey to succeed and actually start, the first and foremost thing you must do is change your mindset. Then, the second thing is realize that learning will come through doing it, and the third thing is get a new community around you. Now, with all of the preface out of the way, how I've been able to actually make a change and actually start doing the things that are going to get me the results I want and stay consistent, I've done these three things. First, I outlined a path forward. Second, I began to track everything. And third, I started using the 2 day rule. When you have these three things, success is pretty much around the corner for a few reasons. So, first, outlining a plan. You need to know where you're going, an end goal. You need to know what steps will kind of get you moving in the right direction. So, a path. And then ultimately, you need to know what the first step excuse me. So, you need to know where I'm going to start, what steps I'm going to take, and where I want to end. When you have those three things, there's nothing else that you need to learn or implement or do. You simply just need to go start with that first step and continue to do that first step. Then, with that plan, you need to be able to use that plan to give yourself that guidance you need, but then you can alter the plan to make it more comprehensive, make it better as you actually learn once you've already done that first step a handful of times. And third, you need an end goal because that's going to be where you're working to get to. So when you know I've made it this far, I've actually made it to my goal. Because some people will try and do things too long, do things too much, and already exceeded the goal that they had initially set for themselves. And that's what holds them back from being able to go to the next level and do the next thing because of the fact that they were trying to go beyond where they needed to. And so, how I can see this is if you want this, and shameless little plug, I will put in the link to my course on how to build the character of your life. But how I did this is I put together a course really dialing in who the person I want to be is and what does that person do? How does that person think? Where's that person's mind at? And so once I knew exactly who the Terrell I want to be is, then I was able to say, okay, my first step is the Terrell of my future knows what their money is doing, knows where their money is going, how their money is moving, why they are buying the things they're buying. And so what I did is I went on Notion, I built an expense tracker, and in that expense tracker, I've been religiously tracking every single expense to the point where right now I actually have it pulled up, and on the month I've spent $1,300. Not bad, right? This week I've spent $438. I've put $200 into my savings. I've went to Chick-fil-A, bought $12 worth of food. I've gone to multiple different gas stations and bought multiple containers of energy drinks. And that's genuinely the one thing that's taking up the most of the money on my expense tracker, which is actually insane. But I can see everything that I'm spending because I know that's what the Terrell of my future would do. And the Terrell of my future would be constantly checking over this, saying, okay, I'm wasting money here. My money is being wasted there. So I need to be able to dial in and stop spending money. Like instead of going and buying one can of these for $2.98 if I go to Dollar General, I could just go to Sam's Club, pay $20 for a container of 18, and now I don't have to worry about buying those because at the end of the day, having bought, I believe the math is 8 of these, so less than half of what I can get for the container of 20, I'm going to end up with more. I'm going to be able to continue to drink more, and it's just going to save me money all around so I can be more financially stable. And that's the thing. When you know exactly who you are and you're able to actually dial in and say, this is my first step, this is where I want to end up. So the first step to getting there is doing this. In my case, I want to be financially literate. I want to have a lot of money. So the first step is actually managing the money I currently have better. Then it puts me in a position where I can actually make a change. And so it just makes everything easy. The next thing is tracking. Again, I talked about creating this personal manifesto, becoming the Terrell I want to be, and tracking my finances. That was step number one. But number two is I said I really wanted to dial in and actually know exactly what I'm doing with my health and nutrition. So I built a daily journal where every single day I'm tracking how disciplined I was, what I'm doing, when I did it, but what I'm eating, through my fitness pal. I move all my numbers over, but then what I'm doing for my workout. So I know how strong I'm getting, how much weight I'm moving overall. And through that process, within the span of a few weeks, I was able to make a bunch of change within my body. Now, this isn't going to be typical. It's not going to be what a lot of people are able to experience. But the biggest thing is, if you do this for yourself, I promise you, you'll be able to change your body. You'll be able to change your mind. You'll be able to change your finances. Because when you track something and you know exactly what's happening, you're able to actually make the changes that you want to make. You're actually able to learn the things you want to learn instead of stalling yourself from stopping. It's about starting, taking notes, learning, iterating, and then going again and continuing that process. So, really quick, I'm going to show you what I've been able to do since I've been able to track the workouts I'm doing and also track my nutrition. So at the beginning of this last month, I was sitting at 170 pounds. Uh, yep, I was sitting at 170 pounds, 83 pounds of muscle at a 15% body fat. Now, in the span of 2.5 weeks, I've been able to jump up to 175.4 pounds with 87.5 pounds of muscle and 13.4% body fat. So I've been able to jump up 5 pounds overall, about 4.5 pounds of muscle, and my body fat percentage has dropped 2.3, no, 2.6%, no, 1.6%, excuse me. And it's all come from the fact that I've been tracking. In terms of finances, since I started tracking my money, one, I actually know where my money's going, but also there hasn't been a point where I've struggled about how much money I've had. I've just been able to open my bank account and be like, okay, this is where I'm currently at. Now I can go get whatever I want because of the fact that I know how much I have and how I'm actually using it. There's a lot of frivolous purchases that I would have made even a month ago, but because of the fact that I'm tracking it and I know I have to pull my phone out, look at exactly how much is being used, I get on the fence a lot more. And that allows me to be more financially responsible. When it comes to social media, YouTube, Instagram, me starting to track how many posts I'm putting up, how many clicks or engagements or comments I'm tracking, all these things are putting me in a position to be able to grow and learn and do more. And that's gotten me out of that freeze up, wait to start mode. You're waiting to start because you don't know what you're doing. And if you are starting, you're quitting because you don't know what you've done. But when you have a clear, concise idea of, I've done this thing did not work, but if I do this same situation in a new way, this might work better for me, you will be more influenced to continue. And that all comes from actually tracking what you're doing on a day to day basis. Now, for the last thing, you need to use the 2 day rule. See, since I've started, I haven't been perfect with tracking my nutrition, tracking my workouts, tracking how much I'm spending. But one thing that I do know is if I do realize I didn't do it the day before, I will get back on the ball. I'll take a rest day and I'll assume that it's a rest day, but the following day I need to get back into doing what I'm supposed to be doing to make sure I'm getting to where I want to go. A lot of people, they'll feel as if it's all or nothing. Oh, I spilt a sip of milk, and so I'm gonna pour the whole gallon out. I missed one workout, so now I'm gonna say fuck working out for the rest of my life. But the reality is, if you want to get anywhere, there's gonna be times you mess up. People in the NFL get sick and they miss a practice. Olympians miss a practice here. Michael Phelps didn't swim one day every once in a while. But there are people who, take a day off, mess up. But the biggest thing is that following day, they get back to the grindstone. You may not feel your best today, so you may not give 100% effort today, but tomorrow you get back and actually give 100%. That's the game of success. It's being consistently persistent. When you don't want to, go do the thing. And if it's really that bad to where you absolutely must not, then don't. Don't hold it against yourself either. Just the next day, come back and give it all you have. Recoup from where you once were so that you could be better about moving forward in the future. The 2 day rule is honestly my best friend because even if you think about it this way, if you set out to complete a goal, you say, I want to work out 30 days in a row, and you do the first day, but you miss the second day. But you do the third day and you miss the fourth. And you continue that pattern every day through the month. You've worked out 15 days. So over the span of 2 weeks, you've worked out a full 2 weeks and an extra day worth of time. And compared to what you were doing the month before, even if you only got 15 days in during that month, it's 15 more than you were doing beforehand. If you track 15 days worth of eating versus never tracking a single thing you put in your mouth, you're still tracking far more. So you're being more dialed in and knowing more of what you're actually doing with your time, your energy, your food, your money, your thought process. It really does not matter as long as you can commit to, I'm going to do this as many times as I can in a row. And if I mess up, I start again and I keep going. And if I mess up, I start again. You'll get to a point where it becomes second nature to actually continue because that's what you know to do. You know that if I take a day off, that was just a rest. If I actually miss a day because life just happened, and life does happen, then you're able to say, okay, cool, we're back tomorrow. For example, if you have children and you're very consistent in the gym, you're looking to be a bodybuilder, and one day you have to take your child to the hospital, why would you ever feel bad about missing the gym? When your child's back home, when they're sitting at home on the couch and they have an ice pack on their ankle because they broke their leg. Okay, they're cool. They're home. They've eaten. They're well rested. They're going to take a nap. I'm going to go to the gym for an hour and get the ball rolling again. And that's not a problem. That's just living life. And a lot of people, me included, struggle with that because it's like if I don't do the right thing every single time, then I'm not worthy of the success or the goal or continuing the action I want to continue. But I could say genuinely, I've given up on YouTube 5 or 6 times. I started making videos in 2019, I want to say, never actually posted. In 2020, I posted my first one, and I continued to post about 15, 16 times on the span of every fourth day or so. And then I missed. And then it took me 6 months to make my next video, and I did like 5 or 6 more, and then I quit. And then it took me like 3, 4 more years to even start back again, and I made like 4 or 5 more, and then I quit. Now, my big goal at this point is to actually be able to post a video every single day. But if I miss a day, that just means I come back that following one. And the real big thing about that is I can continue to do that. If I really miss every other day, if I miss every other day for the rest of this year, I will have posted more videos in the span of June through December than I have across the span of 5 whole years of really saying I'm going to be a YouTuber, and I'll still seek or see far more success. And that's the biggest thing, being able to actually just take a step back and say, at the bare minimum, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how far I'm going to go. If I fuck up every other day, I'm still doing it far more than I was beforehand, and that's okay. Now, I understand this is a video about starting, why people don't start, and why people don't continue. So I want to sum it up to make it as clear as possible. The one big thing that keeps you from actually starting is your mindset. It all comes down to the mind. You have excuses, you have ideas, and you have thought processes that are telling you it's not the right time to start, I'm not capable, or I won't accomplish what I'm setting out to accomplish. Throw those out of the window. Once you have your mindset clear and ready to go, then all you'll really need is a plan. And that plan comes down to, what is my first step? Where am I trying to go? And what are some things I need to do in the middle? That's it. Day one, final day, and what do I think is gonna be happening in the middle, and then from there you just start. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't know anything other than, like, for example, me, sit down in front of the camera and speak to it. That's my starting place. And now my goal is to post every single day moving forward. I have my starting place. My goal is $150,000 or 150,000 followers in the next 15 months. Will I get there? I don't know. But what I do know is I'm going to sit in front of a camera and speak to it. At some point, I'll learn how to script better. At some point, I'll learn how to use better B roll. At some point, I'll learn how to do all these things that better YouTubers than me are doing. But for the time being, all my goal is to post a video, sit in front of this fucking camera and keep talking. When I feel like it's done, I'll press end. And after that, once I get to a certain point where this is a little bit too easy, now I'll play with how I'm doing this, how I'm doing that, and I'll continue to grow. But until that day comes, none of that matters to me. And that's what you need to do. And then, once you've actually started, the way you actually stay consistent is one, follow the 2 day rule. If you do it for 1 day and you miss a day, get it back the third. If you miss the fourth, get it back the fifth. If you miss the sixth, come back the seventh. And repeat that process until you can continue to go and do that far more. Then you need to make sure that you're tracking everything you're doing. You need to be conscious of how you're spending your time and the results of the things that you are doing. So for me, by the time I make it to 30 videos posted, I'll be able to look back and say, okay, these videos did better for what reason. I'll be able to take notes and I'll be able to actually grow from it. And the last one ultimately comes down to just making sure you take the time to fix your mindset. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The links to my courses, my financial tracker, and all the other things I use to track my life to get better will be down in the description below. If you have any questions, shoot it in the comment. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Follow the Instagram, follow the threads, follow the Twitter, follow everything. It's all going to be below. You have a blessed one. Stay smart, stay safe. I love you. Peace.